Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the virtual celebration for your Walters, committed to Baltimore and Maryland. I'm Julia Marchari-Alexander, and I serve as the Andrea B. and John H. Laporte Director of the Walters Art Museum. Thank you for joining us as we come together to celebrate the mission of the Walters. On the third Saturday of October, every year, over 700 people who care deeply about supporting the arts in Baltimore come together for the Walters Annual Gala and Party. The gala has been a long-standing tradition at the museum. Proceeds from the gala and party annually support over $400,000 of the Walters' core operations. These funds allow us to accomplish our mission of bringing art and people together for learning, discovery, and enjoyment. While we cannot be together on site this year, tonight we're going to experience the magic of the Walters in a very different but wonderful way. I speak on behalf of all of us at the museum when I say that your support throughout the COVID-19 pandemic has been vital. Because of your continued generosity, we met our goal this year and raised over $425,000. So to our donors and sponsors, thank you. I'm pleased now to introduce our co-chairs, Guy and Nupur Flynn, and Julia and Michael Keelty. Both Guy and Julia are trustees of the museum, and Guy has just started his 3-year term as board president. So before I go, please let me say thank you once again. The Walters is not the Walters without you.
Namaste and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We made the decision to forego this year's in-person gala and party and pivot to a virtual celebration, but the premise remains the same. Each year, we all gather to celebrate the Walters Art Museum and its 6 pillars of commitment to our global community. And what are those 6 pillars? Free admission, open access, arts education, access to local artists, dedicated, talented staff, and last but not least, an incredible, global, top-notch art collection. So this is the core of the Walters, and this is what you support. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
And by promising free admission and open access, which are among those pillars that Sweetheart was talking about, the Walters aims to be a place in which people of every background can be touched by our lovely art. Now more than ever, that includes expanding our online platforms to be spaces of thoughtful and inclusive engagement. Along these same lines, arts education continues to be a real priority as we strive to supplement local students' academic experience during their transition to a distance learning environment. You all should be so incredibly proud of your support for arts and your investment in all that we do at the Walters. So for that, we thank you so very much, and we hope that you completely love this virtual experience tonight. Namaste. Thank you.
Expanding on our partnership with local artists has brought fresh new perspectives to our renowned collection that aims to enhance the lives of Maryland's diverse communities today. Of course, these efforts are only possible through the exceptionally dedicated team of staff, volunteers, and docents who've been working diligently throughout the pandemic, both remotely and on-site at the museum. On behalf of them and the co-chairs, I would also like to thank our volunteer gala committee. They did an amazing job. And now up next, we have a really special treat for you. We're going to take you in to see rarely seen spaces and moments in the museum. We can't wait to share it with you. We hope you enjoy it.
Today, I really want to share with you a spectacular artwork. And so it is a large ivory sculpture depicting the Archangel Saint Michael. And, he is shown here with a large expanse of wings, He's dressed in a decorated tunic. He's holding a flaming sword in one hand while trampling on a serpentine demon with his feet. And for me, as the Asian art curator, this sculpture is the perfect embodiment of a truly global story. It represents the rich interconnections between Asia, Europe, and even the Americas in the 17th century. Now, why do I say that? Well, first it depicts a Christian subject matter, Saint Michael, and the several pieces of ivory that makes up this sculpture was traded from either Asia or Africa as part of a global trade network. And also, it was carved in the Philippines, but by immigrant Chinese artisans. So it's a wonderful story. And when we put on display very soon, I would love the opportunity to just talk about all these different threads of the story.
Welcome to the Conservation Lab. It's a place where my work really brings me up close and personal with the collection. And today we want to share with you this really wonderful object of St. Michael the Archangel. This is an example of an object that feels near and dear to my heart. I've worked on him and studied him for over 2 years now. And we're excited that he is in the final stages of conservation work. We're getting him ready to go on view again for the first time in over 40 years. Like a lot of other Walters objects, St. Michael has a really great story, and that story took me to Mexico City in part to look for other examples. And I found that, in fact, there are only about 30 in the world, sculptures like this, and only one in the United States, and that sits here at the Walters. His story begins in the Philippines. He was made about 400 years ago. He was shipped across the Pacific with other luxury goods, silks and porcelains, and landed in Mexico, where he would have been a prominent sculptor in a Spanish mission church in the Americas. So he was probably a big deal when he arrived. We know that it was an expensive commission because he stands 42 inches high and he is made completely of elephant ivory. In our examination, we found that it took over 14 tusks to make this figure. And we did find that the central portion of St. Michael is one single tusk, and the size of that tusk actually tells us that it had to come from an African elephant. So that really expands the story, this global story for him. We also know, you can take a look, they knew what they were doing. They carefully carved and fit in small sections where there might have been a loss, and then they used ivory pegs to actually attach each of the panels. And I have one more thing I wanted to show you with the wing. In addition to the gold and silver that made this sort of such a luxurious object, it was also painted, but some of the colors have really lost their vibrancy. We were able to use new equipment in our science lab, and we found out that the feathers alternate red, yellow, and green, and would have been just this glorious bit of color. And we found all that out without even having to take a sample. Pretty soon, the wing will be back on, St. Michael will be standing again, and before long, he'll be back on view where you can come and meet him for yourself.
Welcome to the Conservation Science Lab. Science has always been an integral part of conservation and examination of the Walters collection. Today I'm looking at Ethiopian icon, and what I'm doing is some analyses called Raman spectroscopy to identify what pigments are present in the painting. It uses a laser to induce an excited state, and I look at the relaxation. And the end product is a spectra. You see two features in this spectra manifest as peaks or bumps in the spectrum, and that's indicative of vermilion from the mineral cinnabar, chemically a mercuric sulfide. So ultimately, I'm interested in figuring out, did that pigment, that red vermilion pigment, originate from Ethiopia, or did it come from the West? In Europe, perhaps, or from mines in India or China? If I could speak to that question, I'd be very pleased.
Hi, Welcome to the art handling shop, where we prepare objects for travel. We don't just put them in the crates, we use these foam core boxes. Foam core is a lightweight yet sturdy material that allows us to outfit the interior to hold objects when they're ready to travel. This foam is made specifically, carved to have the object rest in a specific location. We also keep information inside so that the unpacking and repacking has some information about where the object goes. Sometimes we pack many objects together. When we do this, we cut contours into the foam. We identify what object goes where, and we use a variety of different foams depending on the size of the object and the weight of the object. This object was a necklace that was a beaded necklace that had large clusters that set into, they were cameos that set into the individual spots. And I believe this was a box that set down into this section. You can see where we cut handholds to be able to lift the box out.
For larger objects that need more support or can only travel in certain directions, we have yoke systems.
The objects rest in a tray that can be slid out, and a yoke is made that holds the object in a specific location slightly above center of balance. And that allows the object to be held appropriately, but it also cuts down on having to fill the entire crate with foam.
It's actually very helpful with some sensitive objects. We work with conservation and they can let us know where trouble areas are in an object. Say if it's really fragile in some areas, they can give us suggestions on where to capture an object. So we can locate the yokes in specific spots we know will be safe.
So we've gone through a couple of the different types of packing we have, and this is the final result. This is a 16th century Chinese ewer that passed through the Turkish time period, and there they added some of these metal appliques with gems. And here you can see that we have the contour foam with the smooth Tyvek lining that allows the object to be held without disturbing the little applique gems. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, welcome to Art Storage. Here we house tens of thousands of objects that aren't on view. And whether objects are on view or off view, our job in collections management and as a registrar is to make sure they're stored and kept as safely as possible. We make individual custom housing for each object based on how it's made and the materials to make sure that it stays perfectly safe while it's sleeping in storage. Some of the hardest things to house ancient objects because of their age. Also materials that aren't necessarily difficult for because of their construction, but they need special care. So to prevent them from tarnishing, to prevent corrosion, we have special materials that are built into and incorporated in the actual physical housing to keep them safe. In the museum, it was given to the city of Baltimore and we were charged with caring for it. So I, in a weird way, take it as a sort of civic duty to make sure that this is preserved and all these treasures are taken care of for Baltimore. I feel that I've done a good job and that we have done a good job that hundreds of years after I'm gone, that the object is in the same condition that it's in whenever we were alive. It feels like walking into like walking on holy ground, almost in a way, and always keeping that in my mind with everything that we do here day to day.
For me, nothing is better from all. Connection and the self-expression that art and the team at the Walters Museum agree. My favorite memories include their annual Lunar New Year festival at the museum. Field trip I went to every semester with the students from my class at MICA.
Hello, I'm Mayor Jack Young. The Walters Art Museum is important to Baltimore and Maryland because as an internationally renowned arts institution, the Walters is a highlight of the many impactful cultural programs taking place in our city daily. We look to the arts for enjoyment, escape, enlightenment, innovation, and more. The arts can inspire us, especially in difficult times. Also, the nonprofit arts and cultural sector contributes significantly to Baltimore's economy through revenue and jobs. And the Walters Art Museum plays a major part in that contribution. With its amazing collection spanning thousands of years, the Walters remain a top destination for families, art lovers, and visitors, whether in person or online. Thank you to the Walters for helping to keep art and imagination alive and accessible in Baltimore City.
When I come to the Walters, the thing I look forward to seeing the most is the people. Our visitors, collected around a piece of art, talking about how that art makes them feel.
It is a place of inclusivity. It provides accessibility for everyone to art, regardless of your education, your interest level, or your means. And that's based on a firm foundation within the museum that art is really for all people.
The Walters is important to Baltimore because now, more than ever, it's critically important that we use every avenue we have to explain everything that's going on in our city, in our country, in our world through context. And Baltimore and the Walters has a deep, deep history, a deep, complicated history that has to be explained to the generations here now and those to come, especially as our city, our country is dealing with a racial reckoning. I look forward to working with the Walters, to using the lens of art to explain how Baltimore can learn from our deep, dark past to become the best Baltimore we can be.
I'm a docent at the museum, and my view of the Walters and its collections comes mostly from the eyes of school children. And the joy to us docents in those tours is witnessing the engagement that we see develop between the students and what they're viewing.
Hello, I'm a big fan of the Walters Art Museum because they have awesome summer camps. I got to learn all about puppetry as well as art history. Thank you for your continued support.
Nick is on the spectrum. He has autism, and sensory mornings are great for him because they dim the lights, but they also provide volunteers who come out and they pick a theme and they get a floor at the Walters Art Gallery. And the kids had an opportunity to experience art.
So what I loved about the Walters was meeting all of the instructors and getting to know them and meeting new kids and doing art projects with them. And I really liked learning about the art, and it was one of the things I looked forward to doing most in the weekends.
Amy and I have really missed visiting our museums during the pandemic.
So we've done our best to bring the Walters here. We've been on the website, we've attended some terrific online events, and we've made a few changes around the house. Some more successful than others.
But one thing we've realized is that the Walters is much more than just a building full of objects. It's much more important than that. It's a place that helps our community learn from the past, appreciate the present, and inspires us to think about our future. And most of all, though, we've missed seeing all of you and hope to see you here at the Walters soon.
Coffee, anybody?
Some of my favorite memories of the Walters stem from the work of its conservators. Look no further than the St. Francis Missal, that legendary manuscript. Our physical connection to St. Francis and the founding of the Franciscan order 800 years ago.
I'm a member of the Walters because I support free access to art for everyone. Brazilian artist Romero Brito said, "Art is too important not to share." Benefits of looking at art include reducing stress and cortisol levels to finding a meaningful connection between your life and the world. These benefits should be accessible to everyone in the community, and the Walters Art Museum lives by this by having a purpose of being a museum for the benefit of the public.
Hey everyone, it's Baltimore County Executive Johnny O, and on behalf of our 850,000 residents, I want to take a moment to thank everyone at the Walters Art Gallery for all that you do for Baltimore and for our region. Because art enriches our lives, it inspires us, and it helps us to better understand our world. Baltimore County is honored to continue to do our part in supporting the Walters, because your Walters is our Walters too.
And thank you for tuning in to share this evening with us as we celebrate your Walters.
Thank you, and cheers to your Walters.
Thank you, and cheers to your Walters.